Oh. And this is going to be very, very unfortunate as we are just now going live to you folks at home. Unfortunately, I was talking to myself there for quite a bit of time. I did not realize that YouTube did not auto-start for me, so that is 100% on me. But fear not, if you go back after the broadcast has ended here, you will be able to see the initial few minutes of this broadcast. So I do apologize for that for you live viewers who do not get to see the start of this broadcast in my intro and all of that fun jazz that we had here at the beginning. But we've only had the first 3 minutes of qualifying here to kick things off for those of you who are just now tuning in. And again, I do apologize for that little bit of a mess up on my part again. But fear not, we will continue on with the action here today as we kick things off. And the first drivers to put down times here are going to be that of Void, Urko, and Lamp. A 133.235, and as I speak, Simply Steve. Not to be mistaken with your Simply Lemonade that you can buy at the grocery store. It is a different kind of brand here. Eat My Dust, though, also going up to the top of the poll here with a 132.915, dipping his way into the high 132s here. Lamp coming in, or I believe that was actually Sector, coming in 5th place there, knocking Lamp down into 6th here in our qualifying run here. And again, for those of you tuning in just now, those of you who are coming back into the broadcast, you might be able to actually go back and view the past few minutes of the broadcast. I'm not sure exactly if that will actually work or not. Theoretically, after the broadcast is over, however, all of the, well, yabbering that I was doing prior to me hitting the necessary button to make sure that you folks can actually see this, it should still all be there, hopefully. We will cross our fingers on that and hope for the best. But at the moment, Eat My Dust is currently the driver to beat, and if we go back and take a look at last week, now this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for myself, as I'm going to have to kind of cross-reference things here just a little bit, as, let's see, Bar South 22 coming in for the win last week at Donington Park for the sprint race. And for the feature, give me a moment here, I have to sort through the, find the name to the other name that is listed here. This is going to take me a while to fully learn here, but NBR, I believe, is correct there. I'm not sure who that translates to. I should remember their name, but unfortunately I don't. But NBR and Bar South 22 both coming home with the sprint and feature wins last week at Donington Park, respectively. If you didn't get a chance to check out that broadcast, make sure you go to the Team Goon Squad channel and check that out. Some great racing that we had with these drivers, and with some drivers that were here last week, as well as some other drivers that aren't here today for the start of the Endurance Series. And some new drivers that we do have here that I do not recognize from last week's Sprint Series, Sprint Series. For those of you that are tuning into this broadcast that may or may not know what is exactly going on here, there is essentially 2 different series being run at the same exact time. They run week after week, and they go from one to the other, going back and forth. It is a great combination. It's a great, interesting concept that they have going, and it seems to work fairly well and produces some excellent racing. Here is Simply Steve coming up to the top of the podium with a 132.879, or I should say top of the poll here today. So with roughly most of our LMDH drivers having put down a time here, And there actually goes our 10th driver. Only one LMDH driver left remaining. That is going to be AJ here in the number 45, and we can kind of see him there swerving back and forth to, I assume, try and warm those tires up here. And let's actually take a look on board here with the number 45, and let's see as he comes across the line here out of the final turn here at Monza, and let's see exactly what the time is going to be here for AJ. And as he comes across the line, it will be... Actually, I don't think a valid time is going to come through here for AJ. There might have been an off-track incident that has prevented him from putting a valid lap in, which is something that drivers have to look out for. You have to make sure that you are hitting your marks as best as you possibly can and try and not go over the track limits here. Getting those track limits exceeded can void your current lap time. It is a very sad thing, but that is what those track limits are there for, to make sure that drivers are not trying to abuse every last inch of asphalt or even sometimes grass on the racetrack. But Beaver coming up to the top of the pole here with a 132.528 as drivers begin to warm these tires up here in these very, very quick cars. I got to say, you know, similar to a Formula One car in the regards of how they drive, it's a very, very unique thing to witness, just how quick these cars are and just what they can do. You know, it's really, really great to see in an endurance setting, in a multi-class setting at that here as well. But Void very close here with only a few hundredths of a second separating himself in first place here for that podium. So Void is looking very, very good. Currently in the pits at the moment. I don't know if he's going to try and make any adjustments in the pits or if that's even possible. I believe this is actually a fixed series, I think. I gotta try and remember that. I'll have to maybe see if I can get that information here from one of our fellow admins here. But meanwhile, we've only got, I believe this will be the final lap for these drivers, as the 10 minutes have... Well, actually, no. It looks like we're going to see the GT3 drivers finally make their way out onto the track. And I think, yeah, as the LMDH drivers make their way for the final time around the track, you can see the number 10. Or, excuse me, yeah, I believe that should be the number 10. The 45 of AJ there in 10th place on the grid on the pole at the moment. Going to make his way around the track for the final time, and the first GT3 driver out on track and out in the front of the field is going to be Mr. Squilliam in the number 6 machine. And I'm going to do my best here as well to try and get the teams as best as I possibly can here. Squilliam going to be with the Woommates. Excuse me, his teammate going to be Mr. Remote Crawdad in the 606 machine, just one number shy away from my area code, which is a little sus. I'm just kidding here, but great to see the field starting to make their way out onto track here and start to set their qualifying runs here. And let's go ahead and take a ride on board here with Mr. Squilliam, and just or not. And let's see if we can get a lap on board here with Squilliam. And just kind of get an idea of what it's like here in the GT3s with the Ferraris. Not exactly something that I have driven myself. I've driven both the BMW and the Lamborghini GT3 in the iRacing service. So the Ferraris I'm not all too familiar with, but I know that the BMWs are a little bit more, I would say, beginner friendly here in the service. But the Lamborghinis definitely take a little bit more time to be quick with. They definitely are not the most difficult car. The most difficult one, I would say, is the Porsche. That will definitely do everything it can to kill you, both in the sim and in the real world. Those cars are just, they're a menace. Anyhow, getting a great look here, and that was a great run through the first chicane from Squilliam. And that is one thing that I was actually getting to talk about with some of the founders admins, Squilliam being one of them, and Mr. Urko. They're in the LMDH class in the number 33 machine, having a little bit of a chat with these two drivers, as well as admins in the series, in the league. And just mentioning turn 1 here at Monza just brought up some very, very interesting topics. So it's a great thing to hear, well, just how aware that these guys are of how things may go here, and the fact that there are going to be no cautions here for this race. This is something that, for myself, I'm not necessarily used to as a broadcaster. Normally, crash happens, yellow flag comes out, we line up behind the safety car, the pace car, whatever it may be, wherever we happen to be at, and we go back racing again after a few laps. But here, different story. You crash, you wreck, things are on the racetrack, you know, you're going to stay out there and just do your best. Hope to avoid all the calamity, all of the collisions that may or may not be happening around the field, as we start to see GT3 lap times coming in on the left-hand side of our screens here, with a 147.612 as the best time at the moment. And as we're going to look at Mr. Fuzzy Tacos, or I'm assuming you're a Mr., but I apologize if you are not. I'm just assuming at this point, based on usernames here, so if I offend anyone, I'm sorry. But either way, either how, Dickinson going to be at the top of the GT3 podium at the moment, or at the pole at the moment, with a 147.612, a tenth of a second away. Joshua Spears taking up the second place spot at the moment. 13th overall here for our starting grid. But at the moment, Dickinson's going to be the driver to beat with that 147.6. Joshua Spears in second, and Squilliam taking third with a 147.96 as their best time here today. Taking a look here at Long Island Nerd with Team Rookie Mistake, currently sitting in that 6th place spot on the pole. Let's see if he's going to improve his lap time this second time around and see if he can put himself just a little bit further up on the podium. And it looks to be, I believe that was Bar South 22 that actually just pushed their way up into second place. So Bar South, again, the sprint race driver, coming away with the win from last week at Donington Park, coming here tonight and placing very well here in the GT3 class. Let's see if Bar South is going to make anything happen here for himself and Team Scuderia. I always say it wrong. I can never say it right. Every time they say it, I always try and pay attention in how they say it. I can never say it right. Anyway, moving on. Biker Pilot here in the number 42 machine. Currently sitting down in 23rd overall, but 12th in the GT3 class with a 149.41. About 2 seconds separating himself and the leaders in this class at the moment. And I think that's going to be the real biggest defining part of this race for a lot of drivers, I think, is having that pace, that overall pace, to be able to prolong, stay out in this race. It's going to be extremely tough to have that long run speed, and again, having a little bit of that conversation with Urko and as well as Squilliam. There's going to be essentially 2 stops during today's race. There's going to be a full stop that drivers are going to have to take everything. They're going to need tires, they're going to need fuel. Second stop is going to be more or less just, you're probably going to need fuel, you might need tires, depending on how badly you abuse them. We'll have to see how things go here. Monza isn't necessarily too aggressive on the tire wear as compared to a lot of other tracks. You're still going to have to pay attention to that tire wear. You're going to have to make sure you're not trying to bald spot them too early in the race here. But everyone's going to be fighting the same battles here tonight, and I think it's going to be a very interesting race here at Monza. A lot of good long-run speeds that we'll get out of these straights here with good chicanes in, obviously, turn 1 being the most significant of all of them, and right out of the gate, coming out of the first chicane, through the curve, and into the second chicane. So really 2 good areas to slow these cars down a little bit, and then moving on into some more high-speed sectors, moving from out of, I believe it's turn 7 is the correct number there, but I could be a little off there. It's been a while since I've memorized the turn numbers here. It was turn 7. I was correct. So, after no longer doubting myself, so Joshua Spears coming in with a 147.409 as the best time, coming in ahead of Squilliam. Just about a 1/10 of a second separating these 2 drivers once again, and G-Bay sitting in that 3rd place spot. Dickinson falling down into 4th, and Barstow 22 going to be in that 5th place spot. And we can actually take a look here. I believe somewhere. Okay, never mind. I was going to do everyone at home a little bit of a favor and try and separate the classes a little bit and make it a little bit more obvious of who I'm talking about. But I guess I will try and explain it the best I can if you don't already know already. If you aren't sure which class a driver is in, if you look on the left side of our screen, you can see either the yellow or the blue color next to their number, their position on track. The blue is going to be for GT3, and the yellow is for our LMDH. And as the checker flag is going to fly here today, that is going to wrap up qualifying and going to get these drivers ready to go for the start of our race here today for the green flag to drop here for the first time and to get ourselves gridded up and ready to go around for our pace lap and get these fields ready to rock and roll. I'm excited for today's race. I hope everyone watching here today is also excited because it is going to be a phenomenal race here today. So, folks, get yourselves strapped in. I hope you all are ready for the action here today as we get geared up. As the last few drivers are going to finish up their last laps here before we officially move on into the start of our race here today. Now we've got the Void Fan Club in here today, as Void taking a podium at the moment, or at least in the top 3 on pole. And let's see how the start of today's race, again, turn 1 is going to be very interesting to witness, and I am frankly excited to see how this one is going to go here. So, as qualifying is getting wrapped up here, drivers getting themselves back down into the pits and ready to get back onto the starting grid here, as I believe it should be moving on here in just a moment. Let's see what's going to happen here. I am still waiting to see if we're going to move past this session here. It looks like, okay, there it is. I think it's going to move on. There we go. Perfect. So, as we get the fields gridded up here, let's go ahead and get into our starting lineups here today and take a look at our starting grid. Up in the front row, we have Beaver and Captain Nick. Captain CK, that really threw me through a loop there. Up in the front row of the LMDH class, Void and Simply Steve. Up in the second row, Eat My Dust and Brando taking up the third row. DCR and Urko in our fourth row. Sector and AJ taking up the fifth row. And Lamp going to round out the sixth row by himself there in the LMDH class. Starting off in the GT3 is Joshua Spears, who is going to start off in the front of the GT3 along with, I believe is going to be Dickinson, but we'll say Dickinson and Squilliam are going to take up our seventh row with G-Bay and Bar South in eighth row. Remote Crawdad and Fuzzy Tacos taking our ninth row here today. Rocky and Prince Adam taking up the ninth row. Nicolator and Biker Pilot in our 10th row. And Long Island Nerd and Avo Voom in our 12th row. I just realized I skipped over 11, but either way, my point still stands. Mark Darnell and Paper Bag in our 13th row. Book and McMurk in our 14th row. And Crew rounding out the field here in 29th overall here today. In just a few more seconds until we see the safety car make its way for the first time here tonight. And the Void fan club is all in here tonight to support the number 25 machine up in the second row here of the LMDH class. And away we go as the safety car makes its way. And the LMDH class will follow, and the GT3 class will have just a few seconds separating these drivers before they begin to move along with the safety car and with the safety pace. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, James. It is quite a healthy field and quite an exciting start that we are looking forward to here today at Monza, as that is not exactly the camera angle I was looking for, but go ahead and get that fixed here. As drivers now in through the final turn of turn number 11 and out onto the final straight. The safety car will make its way into pit road. The LMDH class will start off first, and these will be the quickest into turn one. And we're going to have to keep our eyes peeled for the action here today as the green flag drops for the LMDH class. Beaver up in the front row. Off to a good start here. Side-by-side action between Simply Steve and Void. Other drivers also getting side-by-side. Almost three-wide action. A little bit towards the back of the field, though. Into turn one. Let's see how everyone does here. So far, so good. Very, very good work. Impressive work for these drivers here. Now, let's take a look at the GT3s as they make their way. Will they have the same success that the drivers for the LMDH class did here? We're going to have to see how these drivers do. See if there's any sort of calamity going into turn one. So far, so good. Up in the front row, there's already someone sliding through the grass, almost makes contact with another driver, manages to escape that as they go through. And oh my, we have to get a replay of that. That was just absolutely incredible. Oh, and there is more calamity. As I was trying to find the replay, incidents all over the place. It is just carnage on the racetrack here at Monza. The first chicane wasn't the issue. It was the second one that we really had to look out for as the GT3 drivers begin to get themselves back together here, sort themselves back out. We're going to check back in with our drivers here in the LMDH class. Beaver off to a very phenomenal start here for the start of tonight's race, leading the field at the moment with an impressive second and a half. Separating this field. And James, I gotta let you know, and everyone else that is watching this race, there is no cautions in this series. No cautions, no yellows, just take it as it is. Drivers are allocated 2 fast repairs in the pits, so if you do find yourself in a little bit of a sticky situation, you are able to go back down into pit road, granted with a penalty, and get a fresh race car and go back out onto track. And I can tell you right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drivers in the GT3 class are all down in pit road right now after that incident that we saw out of the second, or right before the second chicane. So it has already been carnage here for our drivers in the GT3 class. So it's already been a fantastic start to this race here at Monza. The what was it eloquently called? The Sausage Curb Space Program GP. Yeah, that I really wish I had that live, but we will get that sorted out for the next broadcast. Either way, either how, it is a phenomenal start for the GT3 class, and so far, great action for them. But speaking of action, back here in the GT3 class, side by side, Long Island Nerd, Paper Bag, they are going to duke it out here as they come down into the second chicane, onto the inside, and it's going to be Long Island Nerd who's got the advantage here out of these drivers, and I believe there's going to be another lapped car, Prince Adam, that's also joining them in this little bit of a bout here as well. So some small battles happening around the track. Let's see if there's going to be hopefully no lap traffic is going to get involved with drivers who are still on the lead lap. Definitely not a situation that you want to be in, and you have to imagine, and you have to remember, well, I might not have mentioned it yet, but all incidents are reviewed after the race, so it's not exactly like you can just do what you please. You still have to race with respect. You still have to race within reason, and all incidents are reviewed after the race and are dealt with accordingly. As we've got some great action here for the lead. Joshua Spears in the number 84 Audi doing a great job holding off the number 64 of Dickinson. Great work through turns 1 and 2 through the first chicane. Moving their way out now. Through the long curve and heading into the second chicane here. And let's go ahead and check back in with our GT3 our LMDH drivers, as there appears to be some battles starting to form between them. Simply Steve going to be right on the tail here of Captain CK in the number 50 as we come down the front straight. Across the checkered line, heading back into turn number 1 here. Once again, Steve going to be on the inside here, has the advantage. Not cool. Okay, never mind. I thought he might have left a little bit too much room there, but there he does. Simply Steve able to work his way ahead of Captain CK and doing proper work there. And I'm being told Spears and Dickinson are teammates, and thank you for letting me know of that, as I'm still learning all the teams, and indeed they are with Team Upfront Motorsports. So it's going to be a good day for Upfront, as they both are going to have a 1 and 2, at least for right now, a 1-2 finish. But it is still early in today's race, only about 6 minutes that we have been into the start of today's event. So still quite a lot of racing left to be done here for these drivers, and a lot of patience that has to be, well, left here. And you can see Dickinson right on the bumper of his teammate here, just staying right on the tail, taking full advantage of that draft here, and really just doing a great job of mimicking his teammates' moves and his line work. Very, very good work from these two drivers, definitely showing that they have been prepared for this race here and definitely are looking to dominate the GT3 class here today. As Prince Adam, the number 43 driver, trying to build some more distance between himself and Paper Bag, the number 420 machine. Excuse my silence as I'm trying to find the name don't know if Paper Bag is listed on here, but either way, Paper Bag duking it out here with Prince Adam. Prince Adam going to be, let's see if we can find, there he is. Perfect. Backmarker Motorsport. Look at this, folks. We're learning it all together. But Prince Adam with Backmarker Motorsport currently in that 7th place spot, and quite a bit of LMDH action starting to form up behind him as they are screaming up behind him, trying to make their way through the traffic. And this is one of those tracks where I think there is just bound to be traffic all over this racetrack. I don't think there's really any way of really escaping it. As you can see it here, and there is carnage there towards the back of the field. I think AJ. No, it's Sector, who has just made their way back down into the pits after a nasty collision here. Let's take a quick replay here and see if we can get a better look at this. Oh, boy. Try and back this up as quickly as we can. Oh, he was actually clipped. Clipped by another driver. I'm not sure if that was Urko or his teammate, but it looked to be either the 33 or the number 3, possibly the number 3 of DC5 that caused that incident here. That is definitely going to be definitely something reviewed by Race Control. Well, their version of Race Control after the race here. We'll call it the Incident Council. It's not necessarily Race Control, but they still oversee all the incidents after the race. I'm just teasing around here, but either way, that is not a situation you want to be in as a driver. Whether you're a rookie or a veteran, that is a very, very sad, punishing situation to be in, unfortunately. Let's check back in with our GT3 leaders of Dickinson and Joshua Spears, as Penny Dickinson is mentioning here, yeah, bump draft is a huge, huge factor for these two drivers, and that's exactly what we were seeing Spears doing just a few minutes ago that we checked it. Well, I think a few minutes ago that we just checked in with them, staying right on the tail of his teammate here, and again, some more LMDH traffic making their way around. Just trying to make sure that everyone is having as clean of a race as we humanly can here. Granted, given the fact that there are no cautions here in this race. And I got to admit, folks, you know, for a race that doesn't have any sort of safety procedures, anything like that, it's just race, have fun, just go at it, do the best that you can. It produces, again, some of the most exciting racing that you can probably get. It's phenomenal. It's truly great. It's great to see that drivers just don't really necessarily have to, I suppose, worry as much. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I suppose it depends on the person. But we've got some action up here for the LMDH class, and it's Simply Steve and Void. All of you folks watching the Void fan club are going to like this one, as Void currently in that 3rd place spot for overall, as well as in the LMDH class. Going to have a little bit of a fight here, and excuse me, oh, that is not going to work. Okay, that's better. Just making things a little bit smaller here, just because I'm a little bit of a neat freak, I guess you could say, but Void right on the tail of Steve here through the first chicane, and very good work for both drivers. Not really a whole lot of mistakes for either one, really any mistakes that I could see. And both cleaning out and heading into the 2nd chicane as they continue their fight here for 2nd place. And Steve trying to do everything that he can to fend off that number 25 driver. And let's actually take a moment. We've got plenty of time here, folks. I want to take this second and ride on board here with Void. Again, all you Void fan club folks out there, you guys are going to like this one. Let's actually take a moment and let's ride on board here with the 25 driver, and let's just have a listen here to the sights and sounds here at Monza for the Just 2 Idiots Cup Series Endurance Series. That's quite a bit of a mouthful, but enjoy, folks. And a full lap on board here with Void in the number 25 machine. And a great lap from Void, might I add, as currently starting to close in on Simply Steve in that second place position, trying to see if he can put another battle on here as we start to see more drivers, GT3 drivers, making their way back out of the pits here. This is not ideal for Void, having this traffic right in front of him. This is going to push Simply Steve nearly a second and a half away from that number 25 machine. So again, this traffic is not in an ideal situation to be in for any of these drivers that are looking to fight for positions, for battles. It is extremely tough to work your way around, but you got to do what you got to do, and this is a perfect example of it. Captain CK, who was right on the tail of I believe Eat My Dust, but having that gap extended to almost, actually bringing that down to just under a second now, about 3/4 of a second as we speak. Let's see if Captain CK will be able to bring that down further as this lap progresses on. But back in the GT3 class, not a whole lot has changed here for Dickinson and Spears with Team Upfront Motorsports. These two continue on their domination here of the first and second place spots here for the GT3 class, so looking to secure those points. And speaking of points, just to talk a little bit about that here, drivers are competing in teams here, in teams of 2, might I add. So 2 drivers per team, and your points are added together. So each wherever you finish in the race, both your points are added together, and that's how everything is counted towards the end of everything. And right now, I don't have any historical data to go off of, unfortunately, that I can give you folks to kind of talk about and share with you all, and sort of talk about the history that we've had here with J2Y and sort of the different races that they've had over the years that they have been a league. Ever since their days with Project Cars 2, it has been remarkable to see remarkable to hear some of the history for a lot of the leagues that we cover here on Team Goon Squad, and J2I, I think, is definitely one of the most interesting among them, to say the least. But a great battle here between Prince Adam and Book. The 560 Lamborghini going to try and fend off the slightly faster BMW here in the straights. You can see Prince Adam doing everything that he can to stay right in that draft, and it looks like he's going to try and slingshot his way around heading into the chicane here. Going to stay on the outside, and he's going to have the advantage now as they exit turn number 2 and on to the short straight, or rather into the curve, heading into the second chicane here. We'll see if Book is going to have anything to respond once they get to that point here, but it looks like everything is settled out for the most part for a lot of this field. Paper Bag and Biker Pilot both going to be duking it out here at the moment, and Biker Pilot with Team Rookie Mistake. Anyway, Biker Pilot right on the tail here of Paper Bag, who I, again, cannot find a team for, but I will assume is part of a team in some way or another, perhaps. We'll figure that out later, but either way, as I was saying before, we're about 19 minutes into this race, and everyone at this moment has to sort of settle in. They have to get ready for that long run. They have to prepare themselves for that first pit stop that is going to happen sooner than they think. Granted, it's going to be a little bit of time before that happens. I have to think it's going to be around the 40-minute mark. 40 to 50 minutes. I want to say that Eric and Squilliam both explained it to me before the start of the race, and I probably forgot already. That definitely sounds like something that I would do. Anyway, based on what I know about GT3s, I think it will be around that 40-minute margin, where we will see drivers start to come down into the pits, grab fuel, grab tires, everything that they need to be a successful race car driver. It looks like, excuse me, he's changing the cameras all around here, but it looks like Fuzzy Tacos here up in the, trying to work his way into the top 3 of the GT3 class, as right now he's about a half a second away from the 606 of Remote Crawdad, and we are riding on board now with that number 17 driver of Fuzzy Tacos, who's with team Poles are okay. I'm gonna all right, Fuzzy Tacos with team PAFD. You're welcome for that. That's a good one. That's a good one. For all your sanities at home, I'm gonna save your ears from that one. We'll keep things PG around here. But that's funny. I like that. Fuzzy Tacos with team PAFD. Oh dear. Okay. Remote Crawdad in the Ferrari, still fending off, and it looks like we've got an LMDH driver trying to work his way through all of this GT3 traffic here as well, kind of finding a little bit of a bundle of it, if you will. And taking a look at the track map here on the bottom right-hand side of our screen, you can kind of see where everyone's at the current moment. And if you're looking for a certain driver that is on the track right now or that is racing and you cannot see them in the timing tower, that is due to the fact that we are cut off at 25 drivers for some reason. It seems to work other times. A lot of the times it has a mind of its own, but we're cut off at 25 drivers. There are, in fact, 29 drivers, currently 27 racing, but overall there are 29 present that were present in this race here today. And again, 27 currently still active in driving, 11 LMDH drivers, and going to be $17 GT3 drivers? I hope I did that math right. I don't think I did, but it's fine. I get paid to talk. I don't get paid to do math. That's only kidding, only kidding. Remote Crawdad, Fuzzy Tacos continuing the battle here for second place. And actually, we're missing somebody here. So Joshua Spears and his teammates in Squilliam. Nope, that's not his teammate. And Dickinson, there we go. That's who I was looking for. So Dickinson's going to stay out for Team Upfront Motorsports. So they're going to do a Red Bull racing maneuver here. One driver's going to stay out. In this case, Dickinson is going to be that driver to stay out in the lead, keep the pace going, and Joshua Spears going to come down into the pit, grab tires, fuel, and he's already done so, and just currently trying to keep himself out on the race, warm those tires back up, and get himself back up to race pace, which I think he's slowly but surely working his way up to it. Doesn't seem to be going too fast at the moment, given everyone else's pace at the moment. Still kind of working in those tires. I would have to imagine they might still be relative. No, they've... Okay, so he's actually been out of the pits for quite a while now. It just took me a while to notice for some reason. I guess I was just flustered with Fuzzy Tacos and his team. But as we enter into what will be just about the third of the way mark, it's still about 5 more minutes until we actually get to that point. It's been great racing so far. A lot less calamity than what I was personally expecting for the start of today's race. And Fuzzy Tacos, Remote Crawdad, both fighting it out here. Crawdad trying to get the womb mates into the second place spot. Tacos trying to keep himself in second place, and looks like Urko, or one of the drivers from Team Bong Life Motorsport, going to work their way through this little bit of traffic here, and they do so. And Taco is going to continue on his little bit of a fight here for second place, and we'll take a look out the rear view of that number 17 machine, and we can see the 606 a little bit further away than he'd probably like to be, about a half a second at the moment. But as we approach here into the chicane, let's see just how much Crawdad is going to... Yeah, okay, bringing it right up to the bumper here. Great work from Crawdad. And a good exit from Tacos as well. He's able to keep that gap going a little bit, bringing it down just a smidgen here for Crawdad. And you can see Crawdad on the inside with the 606 moving up into second here as they approach into the second chicane. Great work from both drivers and for everyone moving themselves in through that chicane. And excuse me, as we've got a an LMDH driver also trying to work their way through the traffic here. I'm not sure who that was there. I couldn't catch a number on it, but hopefully everyone at home is enjoying what they're seeing so far as this action continues to develop around the racetrack. And as we start to see some drivers working their way into pit road, I'm not sure if by choice so far. I don't think there's been anyone that's had to go through pit road due to incident points. I did get a correction on incident points here and how they serve a purpose for drivers here. Your first 16 incident points is a drive-through, and every 8 after that is another drive-through. So I'm not sure if there's anyone that's had to serve that quite yet. Particularly Joshua Spears. I'm not sure if there was an incident here with Spears that caused him to come down into the pits. It looks like he came in all on his lonesome based on what I'm seeing in timing and scoring, but I could be wrong about that. I'm not entirely certain. Long Island Nerd, though, the O2 machine in 11th. For the GT3 class, currently behind Bar South 22. Going to see what he can do here. Meanwhile, Book in the 560, just behind Spears, the previous leader here for the GT3. Going to try and see what he's got here for that number 84 machine for Team Upfront Motorsports. Trust me, folks, I will learn these names eventually. It'll take me a minute, but I will figure them out. But so far, so good for the majority of this field. And as the race continues on, there's less and less incidents that I'm seeing coming through here in timing and scoring. Some drivers coming off track here and there, getting a little bit over the track limits. But that's just the nature of racing in itself, so I'm not exactly too worried about that. Here, as we're going to get another ride on board here with Mr. Fuzzy Tacos in his battle for second place here for the GT3 class. And I still believe that we will see the first official pit laps coming around that 40-minute mark. So about 10 more minutes, I would have to imagine, 10 to 15 more minutes worth of fuel that these drivers will have. And frankly, I don't think they're going to want to go out much longer on tires. We'll have to see just how well these tires are going to be performing. I mean, we're seeing some drivers going a little bit off track here and there, starting more frequently now, but not nearly enough to warrant immediate tire changes. And as I say that, Urco coming down into pit road here, as a great camera angle is given to us by our lovely production crew, aka myself. Urco coming down into the pits here for the first time in that number 33 machine. Urco with Team Bong Life Motorsports. With his teammate DC5R, both of these two drivers hanging out in the midfield here at the moment, and uncertain where these drivers were hoping to score at the moment, or where they were hoping to place, but seeming to hold their own, not really moving from where they started in today's race. So that's definitely something that can be a sigh of relief in some races like this one, where you're not really too certain how things are going to end, and anything can happen in the blink of an eye. So DC5R currently holding on to that 7th place, and Urko having come down into the pits, now back on track, currently sitting in 10th. But lap 19 here for Urko. I don't think that's going to be a trigger for anyone else to come down into the pits. Might even be just a little preemptive here for Urko, or even maybe a drive-through penalty. No, it definitely wasn't a drive-through penalty. He's definitely served a pit stop there. But looks like we've got some interesting developments up here, though, with Book and Mr. Joshua Spears. The 560 Whirlpool-sponsored Lamborghini. You know, maybe that's where Whirlpool gets all of their washing machines from. Get them manufactured at his Lamborghini. You know, just high quality, great stuff. Great stuff. I want a Lamborghini sticker now on my washer. That sounds fantastic. Dickinson, our leader for the GT3 class, as I'm just doing stand-up comedy up here. Dickinson's going to be the first driver. Well, not necessarily first driver. Actually, now, as Fuzzy Taco's also going to work their way into pit road. GT3 slowly but surely starting to make their way into the pits and start their pit cycles here for today. The first one of tonight, and what I have been told will be the first of 2 pit stops to be, well, it's 30 minutes in, and there might be more than 2. I think there might be more than 2. We'll see. Maybe not. Yeah, probably not. Never mind. 2 stops. You can tell math wasn't my strong suit. But now that, now that the majority of, well, I say the majority, but some of the drivers here in the GT3 class have made their way through pit road and are going to be out on fresher tires, that makes me start to wonder what some of these drivers who have continued to stay out here since that first incident that we saw at the very start of today's race, where with the GT3s going into the second chicane, a lot of calamity. A lot of drivers getting into one another and just making a very interesting start to tonight's events. But I wonder how that's going to affect their strategies here tonight, or if it's even going to affect it at all, as Remote Crawdad taking the opportunity to lead a few laps here tonight, going to come down into the pits for himself and grab some fuel, tires, and all the other necessities. So at the moment, no drivers having any sort of battles out on track, as everyone's got quite a bit of distance between themselves to work with. I think right now, actually, the closest battle that we'll have is between Biker Pilot and Long Island Nerd, as they fight here in the GT3 class. And looking at the LMDH, pretty much everyone has got a little bit of distance to work with between one another, a second or more. And I don't think there's anyone really going to be closing that anytime soon, unless some drivers are saving that energy for the end here. Remote Crawdad and Fuzzy Tacos, they continue their bout here, seemingly not able to escape one another. They just stay right on top of right on top of each other throughout this racetrack, trying to fight for position. And right now, Tacos is the one in that lead spot for this battle, but it was Crawdad just a while ago. But they meet once again and continue their fights here. Sector having a little bit of trouble here in the number 95 machine. Sector with Team West Coast Racing. Not quite having the best race here for West Coast Racing, as currently sitting in 11th for the LMDH class. But his teammate Brando in the 123 machine having a little bit better luck, currently in the 8th place spot. But it looks like we've got our first LMDH driver coming into the pits here with Beaver, the number 10, and Simply Steve in the 023. Both going to be the first ones to come down, and Void, the fan favorite. And it looks like we're going to have a party down in pit road, as looks to be practically the entire LMDH field is going to work their way in and begin their pit stops here today. It looks like AJ is the last one at the moment to make their way down into pit road, and a few GT3 drivers also sneaking their way in here. G-Bay and Long Island Nerd both having made their stops here. Beaver's going to be the first one out and back into racing here. So Beaver Beaver with Team Loveseat. Oh my god. Oh, this league. You guys are great. I love this league. This is fantastic. Team Loveseat. That's a great one. That is, you know, there should be a team banner of that. Team Loveseat with just a sofa as the logo. That's, oh no, it only gets worse the more I think about it. I need to stop. I need to stop myself. Let's check out some of the other battles happening out here on the racetrack at the moment. Bar South 22 and Long Island Nerd, both still within arm's reach of one another. But still having enough distance between one another that they're kind of playing a game of cat and mouse, with Bar South just trailing behind Long Island Nerd, trying to capitalize on some of the mistakes here that the O2 machine might be making, and might start to close the gap here on the final straight into turn 11. And is he going to pull it off here to Bar South? Going to keep it away this time by, but still going to close the gap here on the exit of 11 onto the front straightaway. And the Porsches do phenomenally well here in the straights from my experience, and there it goes right onto the tail of that BMW into the chicane, and Long Island Nerd's going to have the advantage going into it. Barsow's going to do all that he can to stay right on the tail, as we see LMDH traffic making their way through trying to keep themselves in their race here as well. And we can see Brando. Never mind. I thought I saw potentially another battle happening out on track, but I was deceived. So while there's a little bit of time here, while we are just enjoying the action here, let's actually take a moment once again here and let's ride on board with another driver and just enjoy a few laps here with... let's do... Oh boy. Right as I was about to tune away, Mark Darnell has some trouble out of the second chicane in the 183 Mercedes. Gets it recorrected here, but that is going to be trouble here for Mark Darnell. Currently trying to work his way, or trying to keep himself from going down any laps further, as at the moment, currently sitting at 21, not 21, currently sitting a lap down at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. Or is at risk of being put a lap down. One of the two. But back to what we were doing here. Let's go ahead. Let's ride on board here with Biker Pilot in the number 42 machine. And let's just enjoy some laps on board here from the helmet camera. We'll do the helmet camera this time. And just enjoy some of the sights in action here at... Ooh. There's some action right there. There's paper bag. A little bit of a mistake here from the 420 Porsche, and that is going to be all she wrote here. Well, not necessarily, but that is going to be the end of that battle between those two drivers. Unfortunately, and I believe is actually going to be the end of almost all of the battles that we have on track at the moment. So, with that in mind, and while that's all happening here, let's actually go back to our main man, Void, and let's give him some love here again. And ride on board with Void here once more. And let's just listen to the sights in action here, as currently we are only a few laps in to a fresh set of tires here for these LMDH drivers. So let's get an idea of what it's like to have some freshly broken in rubber underneath your race car here at the moment. And it looks like we've got some connection troubles here with Void. So we'll choose another driver here for the time being. Just to make sure things are going stable on our end here. And we'll ride on board with Mr. Urko, a.k.a. Eric Fox, here with J2Y. Great laps here with Urko and the number 33 machine, and just kind of taking a moment here to see if any action develops during that time, and seems to be we've got Squilliam as well as Prince Adam starting to close in on one another back here in 7th place in the GT3 class, with Squilliam, the number 6 machine, trying to close in as much as he possibly can here. Up to the number 43, as close as he possibly can. But while these two drivers are doing that, I've also got to mention here that for the drivers in the GT3 class, a lot of them are going to be oh no! Squilliam and Prince Adam make contact with one another throughout of the chicane. We've got to back that up here. We've got to go into a quick replay, because this is just... So they both are fine, and right on the exit here, Prince Adam into the gravel just a little bit too much and into the side of Squilliam. And that's enough to send both drivers into a squirrely situation, and it looks like Squilliam going to continue on with his race here and not bring it down into the pits. Maybe not a whole lot of damage to the side or to overall the number 6 machine, and is able to keep racing. Aside from losing a position, it's better than having lost the entire race here. And it looks like Prince Adam falling back a few grid positions, and I think that might actually be potentially... I'm not sure if this is... That might have been a case of good sportsmanship, or I don't know if that was something else, but my gut's telling me it was good sportsmanship on the part of Prince Adam here, realizing that he made that mistake. He cost the position of Squilliam for that number 6 driver. It's an unfortunate situation. Racing incidents happen, and it's great to see that if this is the case, that Prince Adam deciding on what I assume to be his own accord, maybe issues related to his vehicle. Maybe there was a bit more contact to that 43 than he thought. Either way, Prince Adam taking it down into pit road for one reason or another. G-Bay right now on the tail of the 420 of Paper Bag, who's currently going to be a lap down. Squirrely here through turn 6. Exit of 7. Better. Things were looking dicey there in turn 6. As we've got a GT or an LMDH driver trying to make their way through the traffic. And up ahead into clean air here as Squilliam trying to close himself in here on the number 28 of G-Bay. Looking very fast here as well in that Ferrari. I almost can assume that there wasn't a whole lot of damage to that car, and still showing a lot of very, very good pace here. Staying right on the tail here. Camera making it look a lot closer than it probably actually is here through the chicane, but very good work from Squilliam, staying as close as he can on the exit there of the first chicane. moving now through turns 3. Or excuse me, well, yeah, I suppose that's turn 3. Through the second chicane now, Williams still within a half a second of that number 28 of G-Bay, continuing to try to close the gap between them as they go through turns 6 and 7 now. So at the moment, folks, Beaver is our, speaking of leaders, Penny Dickinson bringing up a great point. Beaver, currently our leader in the LMDH class with a astonishing nearly 14 and a half second gap between himself and second place Simply Steve in the 023. Beaver doing incredibly well here today and showing his dominance in the LMDH class. In the GT3 class, it is Dickinson, along with Joshua Spears in that first and second place spot. So, again, I was trying to remember the name of it, but Team Upfront Motorsports doing a phenomenal job of retaining that first and second place spots here tonight. But also with a over 16-second gap between himself and his teammate Joshua Spears in second place. So, absolutely incredible here. And as we are closing in on our final 35 minutes of the race here, final half hour of tonight's race, things are going to be winding down to the final hour here. James East reminding me as well in the that for those of you who are watching the broadcast, for those of you who want to support the league directly, we do offer merchandise for the J2Y League. If you would like to order yourself some J2I merchandise, you can head on over to our website. It is down in the description. There is a direct link to their items on the store. So if it is something that you are interested in and you would like to pick up, and all of the, well, I shouldn't say all of, but I believe it is 50% of the proceeds of the profit that is made from these purchases go directly back to the league to help support them and fund future seasons and so on and so forth. It all in all, it's a great way to help the league and show your support. Show your support for your favorite driver, favorite league, and just a great conversation starter for people to ask you, what's that? But again, for those of you who are interested and would like to snag yourself a hoodie, a t-shirt, maybe even a coffee mug, head on over to our website. The link is down in the description. Joshua Spears going to come down into pit road here for his second time here today. If you look on the right side of on the left side of your screen, excuse me, you can see, you can see how many pit stops a driver has made here today. And right now, again, this will be the second stop here for Spears. His teammate Dickinson still going to stay out in front of the pack, going to stay in the lead and retain that spot until his teammate can make his way back out and continue on. But so far, he is going to be the first driver to make a pit stop here in this segment of the race. Again, as we approach our 30 minutes left to go, time is going to be ticking away for all of our drivers here today. We can also see on the left side of our screens just how long drivers have been down in pit lane for during their previous stops, or for DC5R's case, their current stop. And we'll get an idea of just how long it takes to get in and out of pit road in an LMDH. And it looks like for both LMDH and GT3, they're going to be about the same. Pit road speeds make things fairly consistent and fairly consecutive for all of our drivers here today. But it is where those pit times, well, yeah, frankly, it's where those pit times come into play, where as soon as you get into your pit box, how quickly are those tires being changed, how quickly is fuel being added to your car, and there are certain, if I recall correctly, there are certain hidden dynamics within the iRacing service that kind of determine how long those things will take, depending on a variety of different factors, from what I understand. But for some drivers, it has been a rocky night, and have taken it behind the pit wall and have concluded their race here today. And it looks to be Squilliam has retired. Paperbag has kind of retired from the race here. Still in pit road, I would have to imagine he's done for the night. Rocky retired very early in tonight's race, and Avo Voom completed, I think, only one lap, maybe two, before calling it a night here today. So I think Avo Voom not exactly too enthralled after the start of tonight's race, and Rocky, I'm more than certain, probably did not have a good start to tonight's race either. So unfortunately, we don't get to see them out here today anymore, but hopefully we get to see them going forward into the rest of the season and have a little bit better luck, a little bit better finishes going forward into this season. But Monza, like I said towards the beginning of the broadcast, it is going to be a very difficult, a very interesting track to start out with. Not exactly one that is for the beginner, might I add. But so far, everyone has shown that they've got what it takes. A few hiccups here and there. Flashing back to the start of the race, that could be worded differently, but I believe my point still stands. Alrighty, folks. So that was a little bit of a preview of the J2I. Well, that was the preview of the J2I intro for the rest of this season. Again, as I didn't get to show it at the beginning of the broadcast, so I figured since we still have a little bit of time here and there's not any battles happening particularly at the moment, I figured I would show it all to you while we had some time, as Lamp, the number 39 machine, almost sends it into the gravel there. Great recovery, though. Very, very close for Lamp there. I'm sure that was a wake-up call there. But we've got some words here from Pablo. Urco, let's speed this up. 6 is mediocre. I need a P4 above. Otherwise, don't even show up to work in the morning. Urco, that P6 is, it's going to have to improve there, boss. And you only have about less than 25 minutes to improve that here. And right now, we've actually got some good pace here for Urco in the number 33 machine. So, doing fairly well at the moment. And I don't think is, well, going to make any major mistakes here. Well, I don't want to say that. That could end up very poorly. But currently showing he is a little bit faster here than Captain CK and Eat My Dust, just ahead in 50, in 5th and 4th place here at the moment. So we'll see if his pace is going to be enough to catch up to either of these drivers. But even then, he's got 33 seconds to work into that 5th place spot. So quite a bit of time that he has to cover here. And Fuzzy Tacos, the number 17 driver, going to work his way down into pit road and finish his 2nd stop of the race. And Nicolator as well, the number 5, also going to do the same here. But Dickinson and Joshua Spears, meanwhile, are going to be the 2 drivers to take the 1st and 2nd place spots once everyone else has worked their way. Well, really, our top 3 have finished working their way, excuse me, through pit stalls here, through pit stops. Closing in on the final almost 20 minutes of the race here today. And it has been a long 44 laps here at Monza so far for these drivers, and still about 20 laps, about 10 to 15 laps left to go here before we officially finish things off here. But as we're currently on board with Dickinson in the 64 machine, currently trailing behind a bit of lap traffic. Oh boy, and also getting in with some LMDH traffic here as well. But that's quickly going to dissolve here as these LMDH class cars are insanely fast. Urko making his way down into the pits here for his second time here in the LMDH class, as a few drivers all behind himself have all made, including his teammate, have all already made their pit stops. And in the GT3 class, we have Remote Crawdad coming in from the lead to give the lead back to Dickinson and Joshua Spears for Team Upfront Motorsports. But here we see DC5R as his teammate Urko is down in pit road. Gonna make his way into the first chicane with a bit of GT3 traffic involved, and it looks like McMurk potentially was the one. It was McMurk taking the runoff there through the chicane. Gonna take the runoff section and unfortunately take the slower line and potentially the penalty as well for that move, which depending on what kind of day McMurk was hoping to have, that may or may not be a good thing. Or a bad thing, excuse me. So as more, I think the rest of the GT3 field completes their pit stops here. Only, again, about 15 minutes left until we completely finish tonight's race. And not a whole lot of time left here for drivers to really try and make anything happen. And so far, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a whole lot that can happen here. Long Island Nerd in the first chicane, along with, that might be Void. Nope, that's not Void. Void did have a moment here in the number 25 machine up here in third, but was able to recover from that one. But Long Island Nerd here, along with other drivers here in the GT3 class, getting into a little bit of a sticky situation there in the chicane, in the first chicane, but looks to be it was all sorted out here. Brando makes their way down into the pits. The number 1, 2, 3 gonna make their, I think this might be, it is their second stop. Okay, never mind. I thought it was going to be their third, but nope, it is their third. Never mind. I shouldn't have doubted myself. But who we should be looking out for to come down into pit road right now is going to be Beaver, the number 10 machine that still has yet to come down from the first time that they entered into pit road, which was lap 24. Currently, we are on 47. And I have to imagine here that Beaver is going to be thinking about grabbing that last bit of fuel and tires to make it to the very end here. And I can only imagine that it's going to be just enough fuel and essential tires. I'm not sure which ones are going to be worn out the most at the moment on this car in particular, but I can say with confidence that drivers may be strategizing a little bit more than usual here, especially if you are Beaver or simply Steve. Steve's only got about 13 seconds to close before, assuming they pit together, which they very well could, this could get interesting here. I mean, we'll see just how close the action develops in. There goes Beaver right into pit road, right on cue. Let's see if Simply Steve is going to do the same here. And he does not. So Steve's going to come across the line. He's going to take the lead this time by. But he still also is going to have to come down into pit road. And the same goes for Void and Eat My Dust here as well. Eat My Dust going to come in here as well on the same lap as Beaver. Beaver now going to be exiting pit road and getting back out onto the track here. So already a bit of strategy being played out down in pit road. And for Remote Crawdad, speaking of strategy, this might just be the kind of strategy that he was looking for. Currently holding on to the lead, and with only 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes now left in tonight's race, Remote Crawdad might just be able to come away with this one. If he can keep things consistent and steady here in that 606. And Remote Crawdad with Team Woomates looking to get a bit of redemption for himself and his teammate Squilliam, who is retired from the race about 20 laps ago. Or rather, about 10 laps ago for well, nope, never mind. That's still true. So taking a look here with DC5R and Urko, both teammates here, going to be looking to try and close in on one another, maybe build up a bit of a draft, and maybe potentially try and track down Captain CK here just ahead of them in that 5th place spot. And Void, the fan favorite, going to come down into pit road himself for the final time in today's events. And Beaver going to retake the lead as he comes across pit road. Across the line, I should say, past pit road, and retaking that 1st place spot, with Simply Steve a little bit further back than I frankly was expecting here for this battle in the lead. But Steve did also stay out a lap later, and I suppose this is just going to work out for Beaver. And frankly, for the top 3 in the LMDH, not much is going to change here for these drivers, so I don't think there's really going to be too much of an issue here. But again, anything can still happen for any one of these drivers. Oh boy, there, just as I mentioned at DC5R, a little bit of a moment there. Trying to work their way around lap traffic here. But Urko doing a great job staying on the tail of his teammate here as we ride on board with the number 33 driver as we enter 10 minutes left to go in today's race. An eventful day here for the Sausage Curve Space Program GP here at Virtual Monza. And for the J2I Endurance Series, the very first race of the season, a very exciting start, to say the least. I look forward to the action that these drivers are going to put on for us here over the course of the season and over the next few races and beyond. As I think Monza, if this race is anything to go by, it's going to be a doozy for sure. Taking a look at different drivers here as we are approaching the final few minutes of today's race, and just watching along here with crew in the 737 Lamborghini. Steady is going to be the name of the game here for the final few minutes of this race here, and it looks like potentially... Never mind. I thought AJ here might have closed the gap between himself and Urko just ahead in the 7th place spot, but I was mistaken. Urko and DC5 continue to stay right on one another's tail. Just trying to see what they can do here in the final few minutes, or even just be trying to cross the line together, whatever the case might be. Just about 5 minutes left to go here in today's race. And still, drivers keeping themselves steady and true. Not a whole lot of mistakes being made here that I can see up here in the booth. And frankly, they're just keeping this race clean up until the end. And this is the moment, this is the part of the race where everything matters the most. Every mistake is going to cost you dearly in these final few moments, because you don't have time to gain that back if you do lose that time. And that's just one example of mistakes that you can have here in the final few minutes of a race. But as Beaver's going to cross the line, that will be 5 minutes left to go, and only a few laps left to turn here before we see the end of the race here tonight, and the checkered flag fly here at Monza to conclude the first race of the Endurance Series here with J2I. So while our feature race winner from last week's sprint race, currently leading the LMDH field, our sprint race winner from this, anyway, Bar South currently sitting 8th place in the GT3 class. So not exactly the worst spot to be in an 18 car field in the GT3 class. So fairly good work here for Bar South. And as we're only, again, a few minutes away from closing out today's events, these should be some fairly decent points going into the start of this season. And looks to be Dickinson coming down into pit road for what I would have to imagine is going to be a drive-through penalty, and indeed it is. It is a drive-through here for the 64 machine and for Team Upfront Motorsports. Joshua Spears, his teammate, currently still holding on to that second place spot, but Remote Crawdad holding on to the lead and not showing any signs of moving here at the moment, as we've got a little bit of a battle happening here between teammates Urko and DC5R. I'm not sure if they're going to really put up a fight between one another too much here. It looks like they might, actually. Wide here for DC5 as Urko takes the inside line down the front straight away, and 2 minutes left to go here before we see that checkered flag. And by the time they make it back around to turn 11 here to come across the line again, it will be the final lap of the race here, I would have to imagine. Remote Crawdad coming across the line here as well for the GT3 class, and as he approaches turn 1, the first chicane, it will be 1 minute left to go here, and it is all they need to do is just make it across the track here one final time, and that will be the end of their race here today. So as Beaver comes down the final straightaway, Heading into turn number 11, he's going to take the turn, the short turn, into the final straight, and I might have been a little bit off on my estimates there. There might still be one more lap left. There will be one final lap left here. As Beaver comes across the line literally a second before the race officially ends here. So this will be a bonus lap here for all of the drivers involved, I would have to imagine. But either way, Beaver looking very, very comfortable up here in the front. Hopefully no hiccups here on the final lap here for the number 10 driver. So coming down the final straight into turn 11 and out onto the front straight and comes across the line. The checkered flag flies here at Monza, and a win for the overall as well as for the class for Beaver and the number 10 LMDH, and Remote Crawdad going to look to secure a win here for the GT3 class, as the rest of the LMDH field is going to make their way across the line here. Simply Steve going to celebrate as he comes across in the 023 machine, and Void going to make his way through the final turn of turn number 11 and take it across the line for himself here for third overall and in the LMDH class. Great work there from those three drivers, as Remote Crawdad now going to make his way through the final turn and onto the front straightaway and across the checkered line. The 606 machine comes away with a redemption win here for himself and team. Oh boy. The Woommates, there we go. Joshua Spears takes it across the line for second, and Fuzzy Tacos. Slight battle here with Dickinson, but third and fourth place respectively. Oh. I'm not sure if that was sabotage there towards the end, but DC5R and Urko, as we see it blip across our screens there, having a little bit of a fight across, a little bit of a battle across the line here as well. Urko going to be in 6th with DC5R in 7th, securing some points there for their team here as well. But that is going to conclude our race here today. Let's go ahead and take a look at our post-race results and get ourselves ready for some very quick post-race interviews here, as I am a little overdue on time, and we are going to make this one a rather quick one here for us today. So up first is going to be our GT3 winner, if we can find him, Remote Crawdad. We're going to see if we can bring him up here into the broadcast booth. Remote Crawdad, sir, do you have a read on me?
Yes, sir, I do.
Welcome up to the booth here. Welcome up to the booth here, Matt, or AKA Remote Crawdad. It's great to have you up here. Congratulations on your win in the GT3 class. And I mean, Matt, it was a very, very interesting race that we had here tonight. A very interesting start, but once that was all said and done, it was relatively smooth, I would say. I mean, for the most part, given the given where we are racing at, I would say it was a fairly eventful but smooth overall. Give me a little bit of your perspective. What was it like for yourself in the opening laps here, and what did it take for you to survive here at Monza?
Yeah, I honestly, my first stint was a little rough myself. I had a lot of off tracks, and even even just going into turn one on the opening lap at the green flag, I am surprised. I don't know who it was, but somebody missed their braking marker and went right through the field of that chicane, and I don't know how nobody died. Unfortunately, Squilliam, my teammate, got knocked out, and he got involved in a couple wrecks. But after he retired, I just kind of put my head down and just trying to hit those laps. I didn't think that I was going to end up where I was. I thought that Dickinson and Josh were going to be way ahead of me, but after that final pit stop, I guess I had just saved enough fuel and was able to have a quicker pit stop than them, and luckily got ahead of them, so it worked out pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah, you had a phenomenal gap there towards the end, and really seemed sort of untouchable there, but as I was kind of mentioned towards the as you were coming across the line there, a bit of redemption for yourself and your teammate Squilliam. I mean, with this win, carrying this forward into, I'm not sure if you are participating in the sprint series. I'm still learning everyone's names and where everyone's participating in, but if you do carry this forward either into next week's race for the sprint or into the next endurance race, what are you kind of hoping to accomplish? What's your goals looking forward into next race and realistically kind of the season?
Well, I won't be participating in the sprint series, but I will be continuing with the endurance, and I definitely hope that we can chalk up some points. And I know Dickinson and Josh are pretty quick, and I know that Fuzzy Tacos was sitting with me for a little bit. Unfortunately, we had a little incident in turn one, but hopefully we can have a good season, get in the battle of these guys, and get some good points throughout the rest of the races, and hopefully we can have some good title fights later on. So we'll see how it unfolds.
Absolutely. Well, it was great to have you up here in the booth with me, Matt, and great to see you racing and taking home the 606 across the line for the win here for the GT3 and for your team. Going to be some good points going into the rest of this series. But before I let you go here and celebrate with your teammates, fans, anyone in the pit crew, anyone you want to shout out here today before you head out?
Yeah, sure. I'll shout out my newly wedded wife, Kayla. We just got married in January, so I'll give a shout out to her. And a big shout out to my brother, Squilliam. He introduced me into this league, and this is my third race with them and my first actual season race. So for me to get my maiden win on the first race of the season is pretty crazy, and I definitely wouldn't have been in here without him. So, and yeah, a big shout out to him to convincing me to join the league and race with him. So,
absolutely. Well, it was great to have you up here today, and great to see your debut here at Monza turned out to be a great one, and hopefully get to see that momentum carried forward into the next race. I don't know off the top of my head where we're heading to next, but I look forward to seeing you there, Matt, and hopefully get to talk to you again.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You have a good one.
All right, you too.
Alrighty, folks. So that was Remote Crawdad out of the booth here, taking home the win for the GT3 class. And up next, since we have him in the booth here, or in the waiting room, Simply Steve coming in second place for the LMDH class. Steve, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on your podium here today in Monza. And what a fantastic race that we had here. And it seemed like the LMDH class was a little bit less chaotic than we've seen for the GT3s. Now, it wasn't necessarily to say that the LMDH has had it easy, because it definitely was not an easy race for you guys. And for yourself, I mean, there was a lot of strategy, not only for yourself, but for every driver here in this class. There was a lot of strategy involved in today's race, and I think it was difficult to kind of tell who was going to do what and when in some regards. Steve, what's kind of your opinion? What led to you in your success here today at Monza? What do you think helped you the most here tonight?
I mean, whenever I end up on the podium, I mean, it's always a good question. I mean, on all my practice, I found that it was really easy to push too hard with how many fast sections of Monza. Just trying to keep it really consistent through traffic, trying to not scrub the tires too much, because the left front just dies as you go on through a stint. So really try to keep it pretty safe, and stay as close as I could following through traffic. But yeah, I mean, strategy-wise, just kind of keeping the X's low, keeping the pace generally pretty consistent. There wasn't really a big push-pull sort of thing. I was just really trying to keep knocking in good laps and minimizing the time in traffic, and it seemed to work out.
Absolutely. Well, you did a fantastic job here this week, and looking forward into the next endurance race that we have. What do you hope to carry this momentum forward? Do you plan to do well in this next race? I'm trying to find where we're heading to next year. It looks like we're going to be going to Imola. So not exactly similar, but I think going to be similar action that we will find there at Imola. So what are you hoping to accomplish in the next couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, definitely trying to keep the momentum. Feeling super good with my teammate, Eat My Dust. We had a great race today, and I think just, trying to put some laps in, put in good times. I mean, Imola is one of my favorite circuits, so super easy. Feels great to run a lot of laps there. So, yeah, definitely looking to keep this podium streak going if we can.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, it was great to have you up here in the booth, and really great to talk to you. And hopefully I get to see more of that 023 up here on the podium and get to talk to you more in the future. But before I let you go, before you go and celebrate, crack open a cold one with your teammates and fellow drivers and so on, anyone you want to shout out, anyone watching the broadcast at home in the pit crew, the floor is yours.
I mean, want to shoot out Eat My Dust. Obviously, my teammate had we had a great attitude today. And any of my friends watching at work, Natalie, if she's watching. But yeah, thanks to anyone that's supporting and listens to me about my sim racing stuff.
Absolutely. Anyone that supports a hobby like this is a good person to keep around. But Steve, thank you for joining us up here in the booth, or joining me up here in the booth, and I look forward to seeing you either next week in the Sprint Series or in a couple weeks when we come back to Imola.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You have a good one.
You too.
Last and certainly not going to be least here, Mr. Beaver coming home with the win here tonight for the endurance race. Now, Beaver, you came home with the win last week for the feature of the sprint race, and taking it back to back here once again this week. You must be feeling on top of the world right now, having 2 wins to your name already for the start of these seasons. And I gotta say, doing quite phenomenally well, might I add. You had a significant gap here for this race of a little over 12 seconds between yourself and Simply Steve once you guys came across the line. But Beaver, you were pretty much unstoppable once you got out in front of the pack. I mean, what was the recipe for success here tonight?
Yeah, I think managing traffic again. Well, I don't know if I've said this before. Managing traffic, is a pretty big thing. There were my poor teammate got caught up in a lot of it. He got caught in the worst places, and I think I got a lot of lucky spots. But at the same time, I think there's obviously a little bit of skill in getting past those slower cars, but trying to strategize how you're going to get around them, like. And don't crowd them going into a corner, but give them a ton of space so you can get a good run off. It's small things like that, and I think they add up over the course of a long run. So traffic was big here. As long and straight as each straightaway is, you can really get caught up in those tighter corners.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was trying to explain that a little bit during the broadcast, or at least touching on that a little bit, explaining how the track kind of flows and how these chicanes can really bunch things up. They can really tighten up the traffic and make things rather difficult for these kinds of races in particular. But you seem to manage to handle yourself just fine. And frankly, once things were pretty well settled, once the dust started to settle amongst the field, everyone else started to kind of fall into place and started to race extremely well with one another. And I think that's kind of one of the great things about this league, about this series, is that, there might be a few hiccups at the beginning, but once everyone gets their feet wet and everyone gets going, it usually doesn't take too long to get that good green flag racing, quote unquote, as we like to call it, going. But Beaver, again, once we come back, well, I expect to see you next week for the second race of the Sprint Series, which we're heading to Rudskogen, a track that we have yet to broadcast on the Team Goon Squad channel. Have you had a chance to race on that track yet?
I have. I've driven it in other cars. I think the GR86. I've done it. It's one of the open wheel cars, but not so much a car that has as much downforce like a Radical. But I think that track is so much fun. It has a ton of character. It has a ton of elevation change, and I think that fits my driving style. Tracks that have a lot of technical sections, especially elevation change. You can use it to your advantage. Getting into corners, out of corners, it's so much fun. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I don't have any expectations, because if I do, I will only be disappointed in the end. A lot of fun. I'm very excited for that race.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. Rudskogen it's got everything that a race car driver could want. I mean, it's got blind turns, it's got sharp corners, it's got everything. It is, like you said, it's a great track. It's just got a little bit of everything, a little mixture of everything that make it a very fast-paced, a very good track to race on. So, Beaver, before I let you go, before you crack open that cold one and celebrate with your teammates, fellow drivers, and so on, anyone watching the broadcast, anyone watching at home in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank before you go tonight?
I do want to shout out my teammate, Captain CK. He had a unfortunate start. He qualified second. Super proud of him, and he's been quick all week in practice. But he got stuck in build mode at the beginning of the first quarter of the race or so. So I do feel bad for him there. He hung in there. I'm glad he did. He'll have better weeks. And then a shout out to Sean, Rachel. Hello, that's my girlfriend. So I don't know if she's watching, but I'm gonna say hello anyway. And thank you, Mason, for streaming once again. It's awesome having you on board.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me up here in the booth, Beaver, and I look forward to seeing you next week and in the rest of the future J2I events here, as it seems to be you are the guy to look out for. So I look forward to seeing you, and I hope to get to talk to you again next week.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
You too. See ya.
Alrighty, folks, and on that note here, it is getting to that point in the hour where it is time to say our goodbyes and call it a night here for the race here at Monza. The Sausage Curb Space Program GP here with the Just Two Idiots Cup Series for the Endurance Series. And as always, my name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you all the action here tonight. And if you enjoyed what you saw, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you would like to get some J2I merch, head on to the website link down in the description and pick up something for yourself or for a favorite driver that you have in mind. But anyhow, folks, thank you all for watching. It has been a long race here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one next week. Same time, same place. See you all then. Until then, have a great night.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Nice to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.